Hello everyone. So this is going to be my first tier list of 2026. I've already made a tier list a couple weeks ago. I decided to do LEGO Battles maps. Now this is obviously very opinion based. I'm going to try to be as unbiased as possible when it comes to these maps because objectively some are better for online multiplayer than others. And I think the list is going to change a lot now that gold bricks are nerfed to 400 instead of the normal 1000 payout. So a lot of maps will be different. I'm just going to go in order here. So first up is the pond. This is banned just for the reason that spawn number 2 has rocks and it's just harder to build buildings, so it's just objectively unfair. Otherwise, I don't think it's a bad map. It's just unfair. Entrenched, you may think this is like a camper map, but it plays exactly like any other small ground map, except for the fact that it has these barriers in the way and it screws up pathfinding. So you literally could lose even if you're the faster player if you just hit those barriers on your way to attack the enemy base. Um, I don't think it's a bad map, but I really can't say it's good either. And then Avast is another small map. The problem with Avast is the build space is so small, so you're basically forced to trooper rush. You can't do like group of 9 or 3-3 heal unless you place the buildings perfectly. And even then it's so small, like you're just gonna get trooper rush before you can really make any progress. So it's not exactly a popular map despite it being like really competitive. I mean, I think the average match length is like 90 minutes on this, or 90 seconds on this map. So it's really short lived map and you're basically forced to do some sort of rush strategy. River Crossing, I think, is an S tier map because there's no gold bricks on your starting island. You kind of have to go out immediately, and I think that's really good for a multiplayer map. There's 2 gold bricks in the center and 8 around the ring, so you're going to be fighting over the 2 gold bricks in the center, but you can't just immediately rush your hero to get them. You have to build a assault ship or transport, which I think is nice. And also, you could use some ground attack. It's possible because there's 2 bridges. Your opponent really can't look at both at the same time. It's not really going to happen. People are probably just going to use 3T3 or 4 assault ships, but a ground attack is possible. Exile is a ban map. I think this potentially could be unbanned now that Biff, Gemma, Cruise Rods, and Classic Space are all banned. But the first map, the third ever online match, lasted 2 hours just because of Biff and Cruise Rods. Um, Nowadays, I think this would just be another 3v3 map, but at the moment it is banned. Elf Sector is another S tier map in my opinion, and I think it's better than all the other small ground maps because you get 1 gold brick that's very accessible to you, and then the other 4 are buried behind trees, so you do have to put in a little bit of work to get them, but they're not like super accessible or like super hard to get where you just would forget about it. So that's why I think it's like the best small ground map. Um, Enclave is kind of like a weird map because it's a water map, but Sheriff can still be played. There is a bridge here that's pretty hard to defend, so you could do trooper rushing, you could do group of 9. But I think most of the time people just do 3T3, but they could play Sheriff. So there's just a lot of mind games on this map. I wouldn't say it's the best map in the game because there's just gold bricks scattered everywhere. They're really hard to get. But I don't think it's a bad map either. Black Seas is I think another S tier map because you can use clippers on it or assault ships, and you get 1 gold brick on each island and the rest. So the gold bricks are really scattered out, which means you have to move them a lot. I think 3T3 is probably still the best strategy on this map, but you can clipper rush if you're fast enough. I think gives it S tier status. Omega Quadrant is literally just Black Seas but worse because you can't Clipper Rush and wipe the enemy base out. And yeah, I mean, it's literally just a worse Black Seas. There's not really much to say there. King's Landing, I think, is another pretty unpopular map because the pathfinding is just so bad. You spawn under the trees and the builders get stuck on each other, and all the gold bricks are like hard to access. So most of the time, people just use trooper rushes just so they don't have to deal with all the bad pathfinding stuff. Yeah, just not. I wouldn't say. I can't really think of anyone who likes this map. And there's the Bayou, which is another small ground map, another map where the pathfinding can be tough, especially since all the builders like go to this area right here and get stuck on each other, which means um, that if you're doing group of 9 or 3-2-3 heal, you're gonna get stalled, and a lot of gold bricks in the center, so the heroes are just gonna fight, and there's more of a incentive to do an early rush than like Alpha Sector or other small ground maps. Dead End is another banned map, and even if it was unbanned, I think this is the worst map in the game because there's the only thing you can really do is camp if you try. There's no other way to go besides this useless bottom island, the harvest or whatever. There's no bridges, no nothing. Your opponent has tons of space to build towers and stuff. It's just a really bad map, and I'm glad it's banned. So if I have the Groves, it's a pretty good map. It's much better than Entrenched because you can cut through the trees instead of just having to deal with the permanent barriers. I think this is a map where really any strategy could work. You could rush technically. You could also do like group of 9 or 3-2-3 heal. So I think it's a much better map than people give it credit for. And I have Le Poisson, which is kind of like Black Seas where you could Clipper Rush. But I think the fact that there's 7 gold bricks on this fish right here just makes it a worse map overall. But I mean, both maps are pretty similar. I think the fact that you just rush your hero immediately and get some gold bricks just makes it worse than Black Seas. So I have the Divide, also known as Alpha Sector Junior, and I think this is another A tier map. The reason why it's worse than Alpha Sector is there's 4 gold bricks in the middle and then 2 in the corners, so they're just really easy to access. But besides that, it's pretty much Alpha Sector. It's probably the Northlands. This is kind of just better Avast because you have to go through this tree wall right here. But one of the gold bricks is right between both players, so again, this is just going to be a map where you rush on. There's not really any point to do a bigger strategy just because you basically have to fight each other right away. And this actually technically is a less distance than between bases than Avast. So, but the trees do make it a little bit better, I'd say. So if I have the Junction, which I'm putting in D tier, the main problem with Junction is there's 6 gold bricks in the middle, and the other 4 you just have to go directly up from your base or directly down to your base. So you're immediately going to rush the center. Even if gold bricks only pay out 400, by not rushing the center, you're giving your opponent 2,400 bricks for free, which is a big problem. The other problem with this map is builder migrations are really common on this map. So even if you're guaranteed to win, your opponent could literally stall for 10 minutes by just hiding and randomly building bases on the top and bottom. So it gets really annoying. This was Outbreak, which is another banned map just because it's big. Not much to say about it. I think it could be unbanned, but at the moment it is banned. Next up I have Crossover. which, despite being a large map, it plays exactly like a ground map. There's 4 gold bricks in the middle, so you are going to be rushing with your hero, but I think it's manageable compared to like um, Junction or some of the other maps where you have to rush in the gold brick because you can do heavier strategies like 2 for 9 or 3-3 heal. You can rush. All sorts of things you can do on this map, and I think that makes it a good map. Next up, I have TriStar. So this is kind of has the same problem as Junction, where there's 4 gold bricks in the middle, but I think that's manageable now since the gold brick nerf, because you're only giving your opponent 1600 bricks, which isn't the end of the world, and there's also 2 right near your base that you can grab instead. I think it's also doesn't have the problem of builder migration since there's only 1 alternate base instead of 2, so I think this is just a better Junction. Still not perfect because 4 gold bricks is a lot in the middle, and it rewards whoever rushes it first. But I think this map got better with the gold brick nerf. Dry side, this is G tier, worst map in the game. No, I'm just kidding. As much as I hate this map, I I don't think it's the worst map in the game objectively. I don't think it's good, but I mean, all the trees in there kind of screw up the pathfinding, but the gold bricks aren't gimmies either. You actually have to work for them. But I can't really say this is an A or S tier strategy because this is literally just 3-3 heal spamming, which some players hate that. I don't really hate the strategy that much, but I mean, there's not much variety on this map, but I think it's a decent-ish map. Um, Dark Waters and Lost Lagoon are both banned. Dark Waters was banned when Biff and Gemma were banned just because no one could win after 30 minutes with it. I think it could be unbanned now. Um, Lost Lagoon is, I don't think it's going to be unbanned because it's unfair, it's asymmetrical, just one of those maps. So now I have Pulsar. This is basically just long alpha sector. It's pretty mediocre map. This map is one where you can play Sheriff, so you can counter 3-2 heal on this map. Gold bricks are pretty hard to get, and your build order changes a lot, so that's why I think it's a C tier map. It's not like a super optimized competitive map, just kind of a big map, and that's about it. Same with Devil's Horn. It's just a big map. This map actually is a problem where you can base trade a lot. If one player goes this way and the other goes that way, and you just destroy each other's bases, and then it's just one fight. Whoever wins, wins. Also, the gold bricks are very scattered out, so it's a little hard to build up in that sense. And I have Kahuka Strait. I think it's B tier map. It's another like large water map, so you can't pick clippers or battleships on this and win. So it's just gonna be 3-2-3 heal spamming. I think I think it's pretty decent. There's some easy to get gold bricks and some hard to get gold bricks, so I think it's balanced in that sense. Um, but it's just gonna be assault ship spamming, so there's also that. And I have Crossed Island, which is I say an A tier map. It's another map that plays out like a ground map or small ground map. I'm putting it worse than Alpha Sector because the gold bricks are really easy. You can immediately go up to get a gold brick. There's 2 in the center. As soon as you get your first assault ship, there's 1 right here. It's really easy to get gold bricks. And but I think this kind of plays like the pond will. You can builder migration to an extent, but not too much. I think it's a pretty good map, but I don't think it's S tier worthy. Proving Grounds is F tier. I really don't have to explain. I don't think anyone likes this map. The build space is small. There's a big crater in the center. The pathfinding sucks. And if you go, there's a way where you can literally insta-attack the back of your opponent's base, which I don't think is a good idea. So, yeah, no one likes this map. Not much to say there. And then Dead Marsh, I think, is pretty average map. Goldbricks are pretty hard to get. There's 2 in the center and not much else. Build space also kind of sucks because your castle is so far in front. But yeah, it's just an average map. I don't think it's bad. You could do pretty much anything on this map. But, you know, the build space is a bit of a problem. And then I have Ruthless, which is banned because Spawn 1's better than Spawn 2, so it's exactly like the Pond. There is a better version of the map like the Pond that's balanced, and I think it'd be decent because there's 3 bridges you can cross, which means your opponent can't just camp. You could do an assault ship strategy as well. So I think this is a good list. S tier is like the best competitive maps, most popular ones. A tier are still very good competitive maps. B tier are like somewhat good. C tier is like forgettable or average. D tier is a map where like not no one really likes and people kind of dread playing on this map. And then F tier is just Proving Grounds, and it's the worst map. And then these are all banned. I think Exile, Outbreak, and Dark Waters could be unbanned soon. And the 4 of these, I would say probably not. I'd like to see these 3 unbanned since they've been banned since Biff and Gemma were a thing. And, I mean, they'd all probably just be 3v3 maps anyways, so I don't think they'd be super good. But yeah, that's my list. I think it's a pretty good, unbiased-ish LEGO Battles competitive map tier list. So yeah, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you guys later.